Is Chicago still in the mix for Caleb Williams? I mean, that was the dead set conclusion after the first 2 to 3 weeks of the season. I mean, Justin Fields didn't look like he belonged on a football field. Looked like he was confused. I mean, this whole Bears organization was in an absolute dumpster fire until Justin Fields really started to pick it up. I mean, against Denver, they still lost that game in epic fashion, just like the Bears ought to do. But over the last 2 games, Justin Fields has thrown for 617 yards with 8 tuds and an interception. I mentioned Denver. The second game was against the Commanders, which hurt me very much. I don't know how we allow 40 points to the Chicago Bears, but that is neither here nor there. Anyway, Justin Fields has looked great in these past 2 games. Granted, not against the highest level of competition, but you don't have to answer this question today because there's a lot of season left. Justin Fields still has to do it for the rest of the season, but if Justin Fields plays, I don't think he keeps this pace up because this is incredible, but if he plays like similar to what he has been in the past 2 games, I mean, do you start to have a question mark? Because regardless, the Panthers surrendered their pick this year to Chicago in the DJ Moore Bryce Young trade, basically. So you've got Carolina's pick, which is probably going to be number 1 because they're the only team with 0 wins so far this year. And then Chicago's pick is projected at 3. So personally, I don't think you can pass up on Caleb Williams. I think you got to take him with one of those picks. But what happens with Justin Fields then? Do you trade him to get back up?
Dallas.
Ooh, that would be crazy, bro. Trey Lance and Justin Fields in the same offense. That'd be kind of wild.
I understand what you're saying, but I think if you've got the chance we were talking about a generational talent with Caleb Williams, I don't see how you can pass up that opportunity. You passed it up this year with the quarterbacks. Okay, I get that. You know, Bryce Young, Stroud, Richardson, good. Mm-hmm. Maybe can turn this franchise around, but they're not like Caleb Williams. I mean, he's going to come into the league and be a top 10, maybe top 5 quarterback instantly, like right away. So I think you've got to take him. If you don't, then you got to get a king's ransom. I mean, you've got to get anything and everything. Like 3 first-round picks is what I would be looking at, something in that realm. The Panthers and Bears play each other. And it as a fan of this team, this is going to hurt me to say, but the only team that could get that number 1 pick besides the Bears is probably the Vikings.
Yeah.
And the Vikings, and I know this is a topic that we're going to hop into, and honestly, we can probably segue into that too, but the Vikings and Bears play each other this week. My God, am I a Bears fan. I want the Bears to win this game so bad. Just keep tanking Vikings. Just keep getting a better pick. The Panthers and Bears play later in the year as well in like 3 or 4 weeks. If the Bears beat the Vikings and the Panthers beat the Bears, I think the Panthers would still have the tiebreaker, so the Vikings would need them to still win a game. I do think there's an outside chance for the Vikings, but I would put it as like a 95% chance that the Bears end up with the number 1 pick. Like, I don't think that there's a realistic chance because the Vikings already beat the Panthers. If the Panthers had beaten the Vikings would be well in line for this number 1 pick. And with the injury to Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins trade talks, it would make so much sense to just keep tanking. Because they don't have that right now, like a guarantee that they're going to get the number 1 pick, that's where this whole, do we trade Cousins, do we bring back Jefferson, all that starts to be questioned. So I think you trade Fields and you take you take Caleb Williams if you have the number 1 pick. As far as spots that Fields could go, I don't know. New England,
Atlanta, with their running scheme, I think that looks pretty good. I think he's a pretty good fit there. I mean, he's basically the plus version of Desmond Ritter, you know. And if Arthur Smith loves Desmond Ritter so much, then Justin Fields should be a perfect fit in Atlanta, you know.
Yeah. He's a rich man's Desmond Ritter. That's for daggone. He thrown for 8 touchdowns and 600 yards the past 2 games, and he's I'm not going to say a run first quarterback, but he's a dual threat threat as they come.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think with the Bears, you got to take Caleb if you're there, and if you're not, or if you want to get out of it, I mean, you got to get everything that's going to completely change this entire franchise around.
Yep. For sure. I totally agree. You cannot pass up on a Caleb Williams when he comes to you. Like, because you could roll the dice on Justin Fields just like you've been doing these past few years, and he could suck again next year. Like, he could open up the first 3 weeks of the season the same way he did this year, and then you're in the same shit show that you've been operating out of. So I think you got to take Caleb Williams. And even if Carolina's pick or Chicago's pick doesn't end up at 1, then I think you got to trade up to 1. I think that you've got the assets to do it. I think you get rid of both those top 5 picks, maybe plus Justin Fields for the number 1 overall pick. I don't know. That would be a serious haul for whoever gets the number 1 pick, but I think it's worth it for a guy like Caleb Williams.